feels like there's these things in nature that are just dangerous, bad news, poisonous, yucky. My experience with poison ivy 2 years ago taught me that what this plant does is cleanses your lymphatic system. And some years you touch it, nothing happens. Some years stuff needs to come out, and you bleed pus out of your skin. I mean, the power of cleansing that there is in that, because it's hard to clean lymph. Lymph is like your sewage system. You got 4 times more lymph than blood. I was bleeding lymph out of my skin, and it was like, there's a deep cleanse going on here. So I think this plant has a purpose, and it's about developing a relationship. And when we stay healthy, it's kind of like with mosquitoes. You may notice the healthier you get, the less mosquito bites you're getting. Similar with poison ivy.
I was thinking, I'm pointing at while we're here, I see all this. You know what this is right here? This plant right here that's growing, this green, you know, lichen. Lichen, and you see it on the trees right there too. Actually, this is an organism. It's like 2 organisms together. It's algae and fungus growing symbiotically together, and that's what we call lichen. Those 2 plants together, they're called lichen.
They lichen each other.
They lichen each other. Yeah, and what's really interesting is that this lichen grows everywhere on the highest mountains and the driest areas. It grows throughout the world, but it won't grow in one place, and that is polluted areas. That's sulfur dioxide, where there's factories and things like that. It won't grow. So when you see lichen, you can take a deep breath, you know, and like.
We call that a bioindicator.
There's
bioindicators that you can use. Frogs are like that, right? You know, when the frogs start growing 3 legs, you're out of there. The lichen, like he's mentioning, tell us we're in a pretty clean environment, which is nice. It's a good indicator.
Spanish moss.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Rock like that.
Yeah. I mean, down where I'm closer towards New York City, I don't see lichen. You know, it's only in these really tight little niches, you know, in the forest where I'll see lichen growing. But you go up in northern part of New York, you know, in the Catskills, and you see it all over, everywhere, you know, on the rocks, on the trees, you know, and it's not hurting the tree. It's there's just like it's just sitting on there, like a dragonfly sitting on a plant or on your skin. You know, it's not doing anything to hurt it. You know, it's just sitting there, and that's what it's doing here.
I'd like to point out a couple more things. This is such a good example here. This is a really beautiful ivy here. Notice that it's creeping and growing. It's not always going to be like that. Sometimes it's just going to be one little piece coming up. It's generally going to be in disturbed areas. It's just so important to be able to identify this one plant, right? Probably everyone wants to be able to. Everybody notice that it's kind of waxy, almost oily looking. See how shiny it is? That's one indicator, that oiliness. It's the leaves of 3. You can see in the young ones here, there's like a reddish color to it. Yeah. We're lucky here, this one's fruiting, so we can see the berries and what they look like, right? We don't want to eat those. But the biggest way for me, I actually struggled for a long time to really identify this, because there are a few plants that I would be like, is that poison ivy? Is this poison ivy? One of the best ways for me, what do you guys notice about the stem here? It's barky, it's woody, it's not herbaceous, it's woody. Even when this plant's this big, you'll notice right down at the base where it's coming out of the ground that it will be woody. So that's the best indicator. I mean, that's not what you're often going to see. See how that's like almost growing like a shrub there? We'll probably see it elsewhere, and we'll have to kind of like move it aside and check the base. And if you see that woodiness, you know you're into some poison ivy.